Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us here for our alumni panel, Trailblazers. Very excited about this event tonight. Here we are in the middle of Career Week 2019, and we've had some very successful events. This year we have purposely really tried to have a vibrant online and virtual event, as we do now have our Career Design Lab fraternal twin in California, and so we wanted to make sure that they are able to access our events as well, and for all our online students. So I just want to say thank you for joining us this evening, and I am so thrilled to be able to introduce this esteemed group of School of Professional Studies alumni who have really trailblazed their careers. And when thinking about putting together this panel, we really, have chosen some very highly motivated and innovative alumni from diverse programs. So we have sports, sustainability management, strategic communication, and applied analytics all represented here in this alumni panel. And I think each of these individuals have an amazing story to share about how they had successfully really crafted their career paths. I think they had determination, vision, and the reason they had a real idea of why they were joining the School of Professional Studies to move their career forward. And they took that and their resilience and really did that. So I'm really excited for them to tell their stories. So here to moderate our panel is Andy Assert. Andy Assert is the Senior Associate Dean for External Affairs here at the School of Professional Studies. Andy is a very seasoned higher education professional holding positions as VP for Distributed and Global Education at the New School, as Chief Operating Officer at University of Pennsylvania, Wharton School of Executive Education, Assistant Dean for Career and Executive Professional Development at Arizona State and Cary, the School of Business. And Andy also holds a MS.Ed in Applied Linguistics from the University of Pennsylvania. He's working on an EDD in Organizational Leadership at Northeastern University, and he holds a BA in English, Linguistics, and Literature from Rutgers. So please welcome our moderator, Andy Assert. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thanks very much. So our panelists tonight, and thanks very much for joining us. Elena Bantovska, who's with our sports management program from 2017, is a business solutions consultant at tennissource.net. I was told not .com, not .net, makes sense for tennis. Catarina Carvalho is a graduate of our sustainability management program in 2018 as a senior consultant at the engineering firm Arup. Shaun Hoyte is also a graduate of our sustainability management program in 2016, correct? Yes. Okay. You looked at me like that wasn't right.
No.
All right. Trying to fool me. And he's a program manager with Con Edison. So thank you, Con Edison, for our lights tonight and for Shaun. And Jay Mandel is a graduate of our STRATCOM program. And the very first cohort, was it, in 2005. So it's great that you're here with us tonight. He's the founder of the Collective New York, which is a marketing and skills and talent development co-op. And then finally, Tania Soris, who is a graduate of our Applied Analytics program in 2018, is an associate at the law firm Pavia and Harcourt LLP. So thanks again for coming tonight. I'm going to be asking a few questions. We're going to save about 15 minutes at the end to have you come up and ask some questions or karaoke there at the mic. And my questions, I'm going to direct some of them at the whole panel, and some of them I'll just pick on a few of you, and I'll tell you who you are. So let's go. First question, and this is for the whole panel. If you could just tell me a little bit about yourself and describe how your degree from SPS has helped you to adapt in your current work environment. So let's just go down the row.
Down the road.
So hello everyone, my name is Elena Bantovska, and first I want to say thank you for coming. I heard it's raining outside, so it's a tough night to be here. And I know we have some people online, but you're actually present, so again, thanks. Thanks to SPS as well for organizing such a wonderful event. This is my first time being on a panel with you guys, so I'm just so happy to be here. And yeah, a little bit about me. I currently work as a business consultant with a tech company called Tennis Source, and we provide business solutions for tennis clubs, basically teach them how to run their business with technology. As you know, nowadays, technology runs so much, right? Everything in any business, same in tennis. A lot of the clubs are run still on paper, Excel sheets, and sometimes Google Docs, and we're trying to help them strategically plan their business going forward. Prior to that, actually, I was with a nonprofit tennis and education organization where I grew, and I've been there for quite a while. And actually, that's where I made the decision to join Columbia University and study sports management. Midway in my career, we were building and we were growing quite a bit. We were building a facility of 26.5 million, and I thought I needed more skills. I needed to grow out of my comfort zone and what I was doing at that particular time. And I was researching schools to actually, enhance my knowledge. And obviously, Columbia was one of the top choices. I mean, faculty, just the curriculum, what they offer, it's absolutely amazing. I've learned so much just being here, and has helped me in my career and personally as well. I'll mention some of the people that I've been with in classes: Tom Richardson and Bill Squires and Neil Pearson and Jyoti Agarwal. I mean, everybody, really high level faculty that not only teaches by the book, but by their experience in class. So really, really helpful. And if you guys are, somebody wants to talk about it, we'll definitely connect later. But yeah, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks.
My turn?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Good night. I think to tell you a little bit about my career and why I joined SPS and why I'm here, a proud alumni from Columbia, I need to do a step back and tell you a story. There are 3 events in my life totally out of my control that actually drove me here, and this is why I'm here. The first one was that when I was 6 years old, my parents decided to move to Africa, and I was exposed to an environment where infrastructure was just so limited, and traveling to first world countries where I was so impressed by how much more people used to have in their daily lives that I thought to myself, when I grew up, I want to be an engineer. And so I studied, and I did a master's and a bachelor in engineering, and I started working as an engineer. And after 6 months there, someone quit their job. It was the middle of the summer. There was limited people in the office to take that role. And someone just asked me, well, why don't you want to start doing some of his previous work? Okay, sure, fine. It was in between technical work and the business side. And that moment when I said yes, my career as an engineer was over. So I started working within the transitions of the 2 worlds. From there on, no more purely engineering work. That was the second event. I was very happy where I was. I'm always very curious. So I joined then an aeronautical company doing the same type of role. And I think I was pretty happy there. And I realized, oh my God, why do I need to pick an industry? Let's just do this for everyone in infrastructure. So I joined Accenture Strategy, and I was a consultant for Accenture Strategy, advising infrastructure clients. And I loved it. I love to be a consultant. And I probably would still be a consultant and still be there, wasn't it for the third event, which was Portuguese bailout. So my country just went bankrupt. We were rescued, taxes raised a lot. Clients were not buying investment anymore. I was a strategy consultant, basically doing efficiencies and cuts. There was never an investment project. So I said, oh, I'm over it. I think I need a place where there is more money circulating. So I moved to Dubai. I work in water. And I was 29 at that time. I had great stories about infrastructure, even if all of them were just a result of things totally out of my control. And there was a point I said, well, I probably need to frame this with something. And this is when sustainability and Colombia came to my mind as the right solution for me to be here now telling a story with this. So I joined the program, I graduated, and what I took out of it was more than just a frame, was the ability to be in a city that has access to the type of the organizations that I want to be working with, and the network of professionals with whom I want to network. That is one. Number two is being exposed by these amazing professors on the business side and scientists, I think helped me preparing for what the market would like to see. So I positioned myself, I guess, better after SPS on how to find a job. And the third one is actually right here, and yourselves, is getting access to like-minded peers with whom I learned a lot, and I hope to continue for the next couple of years. That's all.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Shaun Hoyte. I work for Edison. My career path is totally different than the two panelists that you just heard from. I actually started working at Ed. It'll be 12 years next week. And I didn't think I'd be at Ed this long. I didn't think I'd be working for Ed. But my former supervisor at a company I was working for was stuck in traffic in Westchester. And this Ed vehicle pulls up next to him, and they're chatting away because they're stuck in the same traffic. And then he goes to the Ed manager, "Are you guys hiring?" He said, "Yeah, take my card." So he gave him a card while he's in traffic. Then he passed the information on to me because he's scared to take standardized tests. To get into the position where I started as a general utility worker, you had to take 5-part tests, math, reading comprehension, etc. And I was thinking to myself, there's no way I'm waking up at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning to go do this. I had no background in energy, no background in construction. I had really no premise to do so. I was thinking about starting my own home inspector business. This was in 2006, when they had just made it a mandate for you to have a license to do home inspections in New York City. So all the architects and engineers didn't really have that market unless they took the course, right? So I took the courses, I passed it. I also took the test for and I passed it, and then I got the call. Again, I started off in the field. I was in the union, building infrastructure, so building substations, doing upgrade projects in power gen stations, etc. And then I had some life changes happen, and I found myself at a crossroad, and I was like, what can I do better? So I researched, and I found this degree at Columbia. It's called the Sustainability Management Program. And this was in 2012, 2013. So I applied, and I got in. Midway through my degree, I was able to transition from the field where I was doing that manual labor to a management position where now I'm actually deferring the build of substations. So complete opposite role from where I started Ed, and now I'm on the cleaner side of the business. So, and Columbia SPS helped me out along the way.
Great. I'm the one that graduated in 2005, so I don't remember. Just kidding. I think I'll have a lot more to say a little later in the panel, but the very basic idea was I actually started in the utility industry as well. I worked at PSE&G across the river, and I started in a management training program right out of school. And I went into there, and I was working on spreadsheets as a marketer and communicator, and I hated it. So really early in my career, I had met a person that was in the role of the webmaster, which is what they called it when it was just websites. And she said, "You should apply for my job," and I did. And I took a liking to it, and I haven't turned back since. But as I was going through it, I realized that I wanted to build upon my undergraduate degree in marketing and entrepreneurship from Syracuse. And I learned about this program, and I was excited about the idea that I could go to Columbia it just made sense to me, and I went to the program. And tomorrow, the program has really been transformative to me. It's about the people that I met, and tomorrow I am meeting up with Don Bates. Don Bates was my first professor at Columbia, and he is in my my business, and I'll tell you more about that later. And the reason why I'm meeting with Don Bates is because Don Bates is coming to guest lecture in my class that I teach. So I'm now a professor, an adjunct professor of marketing at Sacred Heart. You guys let me know if there are any availabilities here at Columbia. Because Sacred Heart's like really far away. And I'll tell you how I got there a little bit later. But one of the things we talked about in the first class was the difference between strategy and tactics. And that discussion has played a really, really important role in my life. I mean, a lot of you guys have degrees in different areas, and you don't talk about things like that in, engineering, or maybe you do. I don't know, but a lot of people.
Everything.
Huh?
I do everything.
You do everything, exactly. But the strategy and tactic conversation has really guided the work that I have done throughout my career, and it wasn't that simple. And I'm trying to teach it now to the students. And I listened to some speech last night about some guy that was building a strategic wall. And, it's very hard. It's a very hard concept. And throughout my career, I've used it a lot. So that's all I remember.
So thank you, SPS, for having me. This is such a great opportunity just to share our experiences. And thank you so much for coming despite the rain. I graduated from the MS in Applied Analytics program last year. And my background is in law and business. So prior to joining Columbia, I was living in Tokyo for 2 years, where I did an MBA, moved to Dubai, and then moved to New York, where I was working at a law firm. And I was inundated by the due diligence process in litigation. It is just so complex. There's just so many, document review is just a very difficult process for young lawyers. So I started researching on whether there are ways to improve this process. Like, to me, it just seems so archaic. So I realized that there are actually tools out there to streamline this process of doc review and due diligence, and I wanted to learn more about it. I was very interested, which brought me to this program at Columbia in Applied Analytics, where we learn about big data, about how to gather insight from data, the types of data structures in enterprises. And I applied for the program thinking, okay, I want to try to make a change in my field. And I completed the program, and now I'm working at a law firm. I'm focusing on building my domain knowledge expertise. I'm working in data security and data privacy and cybersecurity. So SPS has brought a completely new perspective into my work and into my field, and I am very appreciative of that. And I am definitely the go-to webmaster in my firm, so it's been an interesting transition.
Great. SPS students managed to answer the question that you asked them, plus several others. And actually, you've answered a couple of questions that I was going to ask. And I'll point out that for each of those answers, you'll see there's a thread there of kind of chance, flexibility, and really interesting thinking around what it means to have a career. And we'll come back to that. But we have in the audience here, I'm sure, how many current students? Many hands, majority raised, and we have an audience with us tonight digitally as well, and I assume a lot of those are current students. So we have the benefit of some folks who have had some really interesting career paths here, and one commonality, aside from the flexibility that I mentioned, is that they all have graduated from SPS. And so how about this for the benefit of those folks who are still going through it? How is it that you used the experience of SPS in this career journey that you've had? And on reflection, is there something that you might have done differently to have made it even better, or you're pretty satisfied with the way that you did it? And I'll leave that to any of you who want to answer. So.
Yeah, sure. So my background is a little different. I've been an athlete all my life and competed at a pretty high level when I was a junior and played at Division I school, tennis as well. And Columbia came in as, transition to how do I, from a player, an athlete, how do I transition my skills into the business side of the sport, right? And after finishing school, I started as a manager, and then in the same company, I kind of grew my career to a director. And as I mentioned earlier, we started growing up so much that I was looking for other opportunities that I needed to, get my skills to a level to help the company and help myself as well. And a couple of reasons. I mean, I love being there. I loved what I did at NYJTL. It was tennis and education. We were helping kids transform their lives. So I was really happy about that. I don't think I would be doing anything different than being in school and networking with the people I was and taking advice and moving forward. Bess Brodsky has helped me a lot too in navigating in my career and what else I should be doing and introducing me to people. So that was a big plus, and very thankful about that. So for you guys, keep on that you're in that position. Keep on networking and reaching out to people and helping your career moving forward. Yep.
With regards to, I'll talk about networking. That's like what my career is made of. But like from an education perspective, I have a very literal education. I studied marketing and entrepreneurship and communications, and that's what I do. I probably should have studied like Greek, something Greek or philosophy, psychology, but I didn't. But one of the best things that happened in the degree was being hit over the head with a really difficult writing course. I mean, it was really hard to do well in that class because it forced me to think in a way that I hadn't thought before. So it really elevated my ability to write and create and be strategic. Courses like market research, same deal. Like I had a familiarity of what market research was, but to actually go out, I remember my project was a wine in a box. What a crazy idea that is. But we did all the research and we did the surveys and the primary, secondary, and these themes they come naturally to me now, but they didn't back then. So really like sort of getting to dive deep into the subject matter that has really informed my career.
Mm-hmm. For me, one of the main things that I truly appreciated from this program is the Applied Analytics program introduced a lot of programming skills, which I didn't have a background in before. And this was incredibly useful to me. In terms of how I'm applying it now, I see of it as more of interpretations. If I'm looking at a software licensing agreement, or if I'm looking at a SaaS, software as a service agreement, then you have to sort of understand how the data flows, where the data is stored, how it's collected, how the data is sold, and these are all really important questions, which directly affect our client and their liability. So this program has completely revamped my technical side, which I did not have before. So I'm truly very grateful for the Applied Analytics team.
Wanna go?
Others care to answer?
I gotta go.
Ladies first.
Oh, that's valid for the whole night. For me, it's I had a very diverse background. I had worked in a couple different industries, all within utilities, and I think that I needed that dots all connected within an umbrella that makes sense, and I can say, hey, I can understand in general a couple of things, and I can know how they connect in a comprehensive city vision. So for me, sustainability was the right choice for that at SPS. And I believe I got it because I joined one of the most forward-thinking engineering firms in the world. So I think, thank you, SPS. Well, my colleague just said that there was nothing else you would prefer to do besides being at school. I would prefer for sure be drinking and eating, but then I heard that you can do that at Columbia too. And I said, well, why not then?
And Shaun?
Yeah, I think if there's anything I could have done different, it would have been to take the program years earlier, because it was the best experience that I've actually had in my young adult life. It really transformed the way I think. Transitioning from the union to a management position to the magnitude of where I am right now, I would never expect it. And it wasn't just enough to get into the program. I wanted to make sure that I had an impact on the Columbia community. Being born and raised in New York City is a big deal, for me at least. And having the ability to go to school at the best school in New York City, if not in the world, was just something that I was able to take advantage of. And I will continue to take advantage of and stay involved as long as SPS continues to engage me.
I have a feeling we'll be doing that.
Very much.
Thank
But,
you, sir.
yeah, just what I would say to the current students is don't be afraid to ask questions. When I got in, I was, even in a classroom setting, I was hesitant to raise my hand. And that's probably the worst thing you could do, because asking questions is how you figure things out. And build your network. You're around a lot of like-minded individuals. You have an amazing faculty and staff that you could use as a resource. And I would take advantage of every opportunity you can.
Like attending Career Week, for example, right? Thank you. So I'm going to pick on Tania, Jay, and Elena for this question. And it's when I think about the most successful students and the most successful alumni that we have, I think mostly that they're really passionate and they also hustle. They're kind of really energetic. So Tania, Jay, and Elena, could you tell us about a moment or moments when you can feel like you made the decision to go for it? Elena first.
Go for it in terms of school or in terms of in life or in terms of professional life? Okay. Yeah, so I have to think about this one. Anybody wants to take it before me?
I'll take it.
Go.
Because my go for it moment was this week, a year ago. I attended Career Week. It was freezing cold. And I attended a workshop by Pedro Manrique called Reverse Engineering Your Career Around Your Passion. I had just been laid off from IBM. And after a long, successful career at MasterCard, and I was talking to loads and loads of people about what should I do next. And I was getting some good advice, but I was getting a lot of traditional advice as well. And I took detailed notes, and Pedro said, if you define your core values, you know where you are today and you know where you're going tomorrow. By the way, Pedro's doing this workshop tomorrow, right? So if you guys want to go, it could transform your life. But
Watch out.
So he said, if you define your core values, and so a lot of things were going on in my life at that time, and I was sitting in this workshop, and it was cold, and I don't recall a lot of people being there. It was like, and it was just the right moment for me to receive the message that he delivered. And I defined my core values to be candor, curiosity, and collaboration. And it wasn't like it was so easy for me. This was years in the making, but I decided to do that at that workshop. And after I defined those core values, I realized that I wasn't getting those things in my personal life and in my professional life. So soon after, I made a tough choice to leave my marriage. And after I made the tough choice to leave my marriage, I had the capacity to start the business that I just started, called the Collective NYC. And that business brings, it's based on the premise that I could have my cake and eat it too, meaning I could show up to work and work on something that I love with people that share the same values as me. And it's sort of seamlessly integrated in such it's just so homogeneous. Like, I don't know whether I'm working or I'm not working or whatever. And lots of things have come together for me personally and professionally since I started that business. And I can get into a little bit about it later, but I could talk for hours about how the collective was formed. But maybe some question I'll get to that later.
Okay.
So.
Thank you for your honesty, Jay. I think we all appreciated that. I have two main components that I wanted to share with you guys. So firstly, my go for it hustle moment was during my capstone in my last semester. I was one of the 2 people that organized their own capstone, so I brought in a legal tech company, and I did the presentation myself, and I did the capstone project myself. And there was only one other classmate that did this. Everyone else in my program were in other groups. So why I'm telling you this is to encourage all the existing students to take control of your own program, because SPS allows you to do that. And SPS encourages your independence and your initiative. If you have a particular company that you want to work with, then you could speak to your supervisors or whoever is in charge of your capstone or your final dissertation and make that happen. And that was really valuable for me, because working with a legal tech company was much more relevant to me than working with any of the companies that were offered. So my first piece of advice is, don't just go by the default, like make things happen for you. If there's a specific company or employer you want to work with, then go for it. And my second piece of advice comes from the point of being an international student. I don't know, can you guys lift your hands up for those who are international? Okay, so this is to you guys. I joined in 2016, and with the current government in place, it was very difficult to find a job. So you have to hustle and you have to go for it. And how I did it was just constantly meeting people. Don't just rely on just sending out your resumes, looking for recruiters, but just meet people in person. It doesn't matter how uncomfortable you are, but you need to be going on those informational interviews. And I probably had at least 4 or 5 a week. And I started in my first semester, so don't get complacent. And if you do that, then you'll eventually meet someone who will want to hire you, because, you know, ultimately you're joining a team of people and you're not just a resume. And especially if you're international, you have to make that work for you. So that's my advice.
Right.
Back to me.
Yes, you've had
Thank
a moment
you.
to think about
I
it.
had a lot to think about it, and thank you guys. You're absolutely amazing. But I'm going to get back to my career and how I moved up and what I did to actually not only with SPS, but my personal experience at work. And you will go across those experiences when you're in the job front. We had a lot of growth about 2012, 2013, and basically my position was player development and competition. So from there, I had to think of other out of the box, as we have it as a cliche, and create projects and create programming and bring in revenue in a company where it was non-profit. So it was a big change coming in when we built up a facility of $26.5 million. And I took on any project basically that was coming along. And that's how I grew in terms of not only skill, but also helping out the company as well. We had project that is US Open. It was uncomfortable, but hey, you have to get it out of your comfort zone and basically learn if there's something else that you have to add on to the project. So I went through that. I was thrown into a recreational programming where I had to increase the schools that we were, kids were actually introduced to tennis in about 39 schools, and I increased the numbers to 130. And basically this was something what I had to create stepping out of it. And I'm going back to my background as an athlete that, hey, you have to adapt. You have to go for it. You have to change your process of thinking, and you need to take challenges. So basically that's what kind of pushed me up, as well as my education and experience here, where it was exposed me to so many other fronts, right? Digital, was it law, was it finance and accounting, which helped a lot. So merging both really accelerated my career forward.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
And I have a follow-up question to that one, and I'll open this to the whole panel, and that is thinking about your current position, what were the top 3 skills that got you into that position?
And I continue on that.
And I'll start. Why don't we start down the end and then come back down here? So, with Tania.
So for me personally, I think the first most important skill is the fact that I was an extrovert. So like I mentioned earlier, I really put myself out there to meet as many people as possible. And that really helped. So along with that, then that second skill is, in addition to being an extrovert, you need to be able to communicate well. You need to be able to articulate why you want to do what you're doing, why you want to work at this specific company, and how your skills will translate and how you can set yourself apart. So extroversion, communication skills, and I think the third skill would probably be just learning to be tenacious and just, despite whatever rejection you might face from employers that you're applying to, be determined and just stay at it. So tenacity is a skill and it's a muscle that you build. You learn over time to sort of get over that initial feeling of rejection if your job doesn't work out for you, if you don't get an offer. So extroversion, communication skills, and tenacity, I think, are extremely important.
I think my 3 skills are extroversion, tenacity, and communication. No, I don't
Should
necessarily.
be more original than that, Jake.
I think that those are great skills, and throughout my career, resiliency is a really important theme. I mean, I worked through the recession, and I was in a company that was on top of the world. And then half of my career at that company was, working with top advertising agencies, spending a lot of money on branding, and then the other half, the company was going bankrupt. And so, really, being able to adapt is a skill that has been very important in my career, and I think that the education that I received here helped me to do that. I talked a little bit earlier about curiosity. That's one of my core values, and it certainly was something that I was able to apply here, learning skills that I didn't necessarily know, exploring in different ways. The idea that you said around crafting your own classes, that we did that too. It's sort of out of necessity. We were in one of the first classes, and the program was not as mature as it was, but it was good that we were able to craft it and make it. And networking is the third, and I do still I'm still in touch with people that are in the program. They hold a special place in my heart, and I'm able to I've been able to open up doors that I wouldn't have been able to open up before. One of my classmates, his name is Tom Nardacci, and I watched him create something so amazing, and it inspires me to this day. So while we were in class with this guy, he started something called Gramercy Communications, and he was like, I'm going to go up to Albany and I'm going to start a PR firm. And this was when Albany, I don't know, I don't want to say anything bad about Albany, but Albany was not gentrified, and he was from up there, and he wanted to create something really, really cool. And he did, and he built up a really, really successful practice in the exact thing that he studied. But that wasn't all. So as he evolved, he still held on to this Gramercy Communications, and he started 2 co-working spaces in Albany. He's literally helping that economy to thrive by he created this place called the Bull and Moose Club, and another place. You could look it up, but I mean, to be able to network with the go-getters and creators that were able to take an academic program and have them propel into something like that really inspired me to do what I did.
Thank you.
All right, cool. My first class is 2 required courses for the SUMA program. The first one is Intro to Sustainability, and the last one is Capstone. Intro to Sustainability is all about case studies and writing memos. Writing a memo has been one of the most effective pieces of knowledge that I've gained in the program. I do it all the time in my current workload. Hated doing it as a student. But my professor and program director, Steve Cohen, he told us how impactful it would be, and he was right. So writing a memo would be the first thing that I really utilize the most in my current role. The second thing is taking complex situations and explaining them very clear. My current role, I'm the program manager for a program called the Small Business Direct Install Program, also known as CDI, Commercial Direct Install. And what we do is we incentivize technologies for 350,000 eligible small business customers across New York City and Westchester County. Try going into a bodega and explaining to the store owner how you could save energy by changing an incandescent bulb to a LED bulb. Something that simple, but there's some complexities such as interactive factors or coincidence factors or the location that you're installing it in because they have different effective load hours. I mean, these are all complex situations that engineers understand, that our program staff understands, but translating it to customers may not always come across clear. So learning how to make complex situations simple is something else that I learned in the program that's been very impactful. And the third thing, I think I could probably rate them all the same, is failing safely. Like knowing that you go into a course or into a class and you're gonna get criticized to the point that you don't make that mistake again, but it's actually effective criticism, not something that you're losing millions of dollars on for your employer or ruining a customer experience. Just learning how to fail in a safe place where you get guidance and direction and an understanding and lessons learned that you could actually fix, right? And not have to worry is the third thing that I would say that helped me out a lot.
There are 3 things I keep in my mind in everything I do, being it school, work, life, anything. The first one is being very clear and very strategic with my decision making. The second one is work hard. And the third one is be a go-getter. If you keep the 3 in mind, in whatever you're doing, I guess you will succeed. There are a lot of skills that feed into each of them, right? Being a communicator will help you when you are a go-getter, right? People will more easily engage with you. Being analytical will help you maybe being a hard worker, right? If you can focus. There is a second level. If you get the first level right, you will potentially land in a good place. So I think that are the 3 things you want to keep in mind out of this.
Yeah, so for me, I'm going back to my background, which really has shaped my personality. And 3 skills, I would say, it's problem solving and decision making, very important. And as on the court, you have to problem solve really quickly. You're going down the line, you're going cross court. The same thing is in life and in your profession as well. You have to kind of have a strategic path and make a quick decision to be successful. And sometimes even time makes a difference, how long you're going to take for certain project and for certain decision. Spending a lot of time to perfect something is not the best way to go, and you have to make quicker decision, which would be much helpful. The next thing I was talking about is adaptability, really important as well. One thing is things will change all the time. Your environment will change. We can control our own internal environment, but externally things will change and you have to adjust, either learning a new skill, going to school, or basically be fluid with your manager if it changes and kind of adapt to what they want and certain personalities to succeed and work together properly. So that's my second one. And the third one is self-motivation. Very important. I found out that whatever you do, you have to be really diligent and keep going at it, and complete it. Very important. A lot of people are starting and they have great ideas, but it will never complete as a project. So very important to keep the energy going, to keep your connections going, and be your own boss, be your own leader, to continue moving forward. So yeah.
Great. Thank you. I'm going to pivot a little bit. I'm going to ask a question, and it'll be the last question, and then we'll open the floor up to folks who have questions for the panel. And this is something that Tania has already spoken about, and it has to do with being an international student and then getting a job as an international student. And so I won't pick on Tania now since she's answered that, but for Catarina and Elena, we think it's important to have a diverse student body, and we have a lot of international students here at SPS. Can you talk about being an international student and then the tactics that you use to get into your role as an international student?
You want to start?
Doesn't matter.
Go ahead.
Yes, so we had that conversation a little earlier. I love being international student. I mean, we in New York, right? I grew up in Bulgaria. New York is probably one of the best cities, and you're in the best school. And everybody is from a different part of the world. And to be connected to so many different cultures and people, it's absolutely amazing. Our classes, I think we have 60% or more of international students. And just taking the opinion of what's happening in Russia, what's happening in Japan, what's happening in Argentina, it's absolutely amazing. The discussions are amazing. So yeah, look forward to that, and please network with your fellow students. And in terms of getting a job moving forward as being an international student, look for internships because paperwork is quite difficult. You will probably get an OPT once you're done with your schooling, and good luck with that. It's a pretty good, it's a year of OPT that you could do, but the most important is internships, and you could do that through all your years in school, and that will give you also a way of experiencing other positions, right, and deciding where you want to go from there. But again, it's a melting pot, and it's such a great experience to be around so many people, different backgrounds and different cultures. Really helped me.
I think there is definitely an obvious bureaucratic disadvantage of being an international graduate in this country at this point. But I also think that there is an incredible advantage when you travel somewhere you were living before and you come to a new country and you take the risk not just of a different culture and city and people, but also knowing that you need to find a job in such a harsh environment for it. It takes courage, and it shows that you can handle it. So I think that is also a good message to keep in mind, and don't demotivate with it. How I did it personally, they're going to probably connect with the 3 steps I told you before, because I think they literally apply into everything. So, strategy. There we go. I agree with her. An internship is an incredible way in when you need to prove your case. So I knew exactly what I wanted by the time I came to Columbia. I had 8 years experience, 2 degrees. I knew what I was looking for and the type of company I wanted to work for. I knew it was Arup, and they were not doing from scratch a visa sponsorship if they never knew me before. So I said, okay, right. So can I do an internship 2 months? And if you like my work, can we do a conversation after 30 days? And then if you like it, then I want a full-time position and I expect visa sponsorship. And there we go. We got it. Yeah. So that was number 1. The second that we mentioned before is work hard. So if you know that you want it, I tried 3 people at Arup until I got in. The first one never replied to me. The second really tried to deliver my CV to his boss, and I never got a coffee. I never got that meeting. I never got to know him. And I didn't give up, right? I tried to find another person and try always to crack in, also with the help of Diana. Always cheering me up, like, go for it. It's like, I'm going. And there we did it. So you gotta have that energy to do things. And the last one is when you are a go-getter and you know that you're good at something, it needs to keep evolving. It's not the end of it. Oh, I'm now in New York, I'm in the job I want. No, there is always a next step, and you gotta enroll with your colleagues and try to understand what is happening out there. Keep an eye on the market, keep an eye on what is going on in the industry. And I think that's the attitude that I came out of Columbia, and that I expect all my peers, and I recognize on them the same, which is this: you can never settle, right? You need always to wish more and challenge yourself. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, it's time to open up questions now from all of you. And do we have the ability to have people digitally answer questions too? Or if you do have a question, please come up to the mic. And are people who are remote able to ask questions?
Unfortunately not.
No? Okay. Sorry about that, folks.
All right.
Or please go ahead.
Hi everyone. My name is Leisha Kason. So I recently graduated from undergrad with the bachelor's in public health in May, and I'm in a 1-year fellowship through SPS. So I'm getting my master's in nonprofit management. I just started in September and I'll be done in August. So my question I'm asking you is, I have the degree, but I don't have a lot of experience. And contrary to most people who do SPS, they've been working for years and they want to advance their degree. So what advice would you give me to make effective decisions moving forward and to avoid any unnecessary failures or anything of that nature?
That's a good one.
I'll start up. You will fail so many times, and it's okay. And I'm talking from my background, and that's actually, it's a good thing, because you will learn from your mistakes and you would see and find out what you like more and where your strengths are, which is really important. Find your strengths and keep doing what you're good at. In terms of your career, how you can get in, look for an internship. I think we mentioned that a little bit earlier. Look to volunteer as well. And you will see, once you like something, it's very important to love what you do, because then you don't count hours, you just work and your passion shows. So then you'll be selected. Then you'll find the next step and somebody will pick you up. There's no question. But again, mistakes are important on the way, and failures come with it. It's okay.
I just want to layer on top of that. Failing is going to happen, but what you should do is seek out a mentor, because therefore you won't have to make the same mistakes that your mentor made maybe when they were in your same position. So I think having several mentors actually is a good idea. They can introduce you to people in your field. You don't necessarily have to have a mentor that is in the field that you want to work in, but just someone that has made some of the mistakes so that you won't have to make all of them yourself.
So I'm going to layer onto that. The first step is to define your core values, because if you know where you are today, you'll be able to measure where you're going in the future. And one of the mistakes that a lot of my friends that reached the age of 40 realized was that they didn't know who the hell they were at the age of 40. So I'm telling you now, assuming you're younger, that if you figure that out a little earlier and you really understand what motivates you and what doesn't motivate you, then you're going to have a more satisfying career. It's not about just getting a job. It's about getting a job that aligns with your values. Now, that's very altruistic and sounds all good, and more power to you if you could have that. You might not have that. So don't expect that it's just going to come your way and you're going to fail and all that stuff. But in order to get to that place, you need air to breathe, advice, information, and referrals. That should be your goal from every conversation that you have. Your goal is not, can you help me get my next job? Your goal is to create a connection with a person that is authentic, that is memorable, so that when the person is 6 months down the road saying, oh, I remember that meeting we had, and oh, look, there's a job that's available, and I'm going to call her. I mean, because it doesn't happen overnight. You have to be patient. But I was telling my friend Eric, who came to visit, surprised me. Thank you for coming, Eric. I was telling him that in my pitching for my business, it's just remarkable how a lot of the conversations that I had 3 months ago are starting to materialize now. It wasn't instantaneous. It's like delayed. And as long as you're top of mind, you're gonna be in a good place.
I'll tell you what, Jay, I'm totally stealing that air analogy.
Yeah, isn't that good?
And
Thank you.
also, just to add to that, definitely networking and making connections is important, but also just look at right now what interests you and what sort of job positions would you see yourself working in once you graduate, and specifically find those people on LinkedIn, on however you need to. Find those people with those specific roles and speak to them. Because not only are you networking, but you're also gathering information about what they do, and ask them, what do you do on a day-to-day basis? Because sometimes, titles can sound fancy, but when you actually ask someone, what do you do on a daily basis? It might be completely different to what you think, and you might be completely bored, or you might not be interested. So reach out to the people with the job role that you are interested in and ask them exactly what do you do, dissect it. I think that would help give you clarity.
Thank you.
All right.
No problem.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Thank you for your talk, and good evening, everyone. I have a question to the panel. Could each of you speak of one thing that you know now, but you should have known earlier, in terms of professional experience, or it could be personal as well?
Did I know now that I should have known earlier?
So pre-program or pre-SPS or post-SPS? What do you?
I would say post SPS.
I have one. So when I joined the program, and especially because I have a technical background, one of the things I was very keen on was sharpening my technical skills. And you know that because we were together in an engineering class. So I took a lot of classes and tried to, in SPS and outside SPS, try to sharpen my knowledge in areas that I felt there was a black hole or there was something missing. I thought that was important. Now, looking back and passing through the process of finding a job, I don't think that was the most important thing I could have done. I agree with all my colleagues that networking is very important, and all that should be part of what you do to find a job. I think the most important thing is having an approach, a framework for thinking. That's your asset. Your asset is to show that you can be placed in different situations, because world will change and companies want to hire people that can adapt. So if there was something that I would have done different now, would be maybe, take a little bit of other types of classes, not worrying too much about what exactly is the specific hard knowledge, and think more about your soft skills. What are you offering? How do you think? That's what I learned.
No one's going to hand you anything. When I was in the program, I had an expectation that I would get an opportunity to apply to all these high-paying jobs, be sent through to us as a student, and because I go to Columbia, it's just going to be easy. But nope, that's not the way it works. You have to create your own path. And I've gotten a lot of value from working with the coaches in the career design lab, and the types of things that we talk about are not about applying to jobs. It's about, along the lines of what we were talking about here. You don't necessarily have to stay within the box. You should look elsewhere and define your own path. That's my advice.
So to answer your question in terms of what I would do differently. I would probably have been, during my last semester, I was the president of the Analytics Alchemists Club. I would probably have done more of the extracurriculars during my first semester, just because I enjoyed it and I felt like it was a great way to give back to the school and the students, because you're also simultaneously networking and bringing in people to present and talk to your cohort. So I would probably have done that much earlier.
Yeah, and just to chime in, I would say before I came to SPS, I wasn't paying so much attention of the world out of tennis and education. And when I came in, there were just so many aspects of the sports industry business. And I built up my LinkedIn profile here. Never thought about it before, just because it was so comfortable, right? You're building into a niche environment and you're meeting the USTA people and you're meeting, so you have your network, but that seemed the world. When I came in here, it was like, oh my God, there is a universe, right? There's so much more. So I built up on that. I connected with everyone. I connected with people that were not in my school. I took a shot at reaching out to executives saying, here, this is what I'm doing, which I should have done much earlier, I think. But, your eyes open a little bit later when you actually get into school.
Just one more thing to add. Speaking of later, the association and affiliation with Columbia never ends. So last year, as someone that graduated like 15 years before, I decided to take advantage of what this school has to offer, and here I am. So, I mean, that's a really important thing to understand. You've bought into something, and there's a camaraderie and spirit here that will be with us all for life.
Yeah, I think they covered just about everything.
Yeah.
They leave much to me.
Summarize.
He knew it all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great question.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is conclude our sessions now, turn it over to you to
All right.
let us know what's in store for the rest of the 30 minutes we've got.
Well, actually, we do have some more networking. The bar will be open for the next 30 minutes. But I do want to just thank everybody for such compelling stories. I mean, the stories of these alumni are just fabulous. They're truly inspiring. And I think just a few takeaways for me are resilience. I mean, they truly have resilience, being able to be adaptive, right? Taking risk. And clearly having a passion for the work that you want to be doing. And so each of them came into the School of Professional Studies with a real idea of where they wanted to go, and they took their tenacity and they did it. I also think that happenstance was a big part of this, and being open to different opportunities and opening, as you said, you thought it was going to go one way and then you got this curveball and you went with it, right? So, that plays a key role in each one of these stories. The fact that they were able to pivot and put themselves out there, which led to their success. So as we end this panel for this evening, I throw that challenge out to you, on our audience, to be open to happenstance and have a willingness to take that risk and expand your comfort zone. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Right.